A thurible is a metal censer suspended from chains, in which incense is burned during worship services. It is used in the Roman Catholic, Anglo Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, Armenian Apostolic, some Lutheran, Old Catholic, and in various Gnostic Churches. It is also used in Co-Freemasonry and in the practice of ceremonial magic. In Catholic, Lutheran, and Anglican churches, the altar server who carries the thurible is called the thurifer. The workings of a thurible are quite simple. Burning charcoal is inside the metal censer. Incense, sometimes of many different varieties, is placed upon the charcoal. This may be done several times during the service as the incense burns quite quickly. Once the incense has been placed on the charcoal, the thurible is then closed and used for censing. A famous thurible is the huge Botafumeiro in Santiago de Compostela Cathedral, Spain. The word thurible comes from the Old French thurible, which in turn is derived from the Latin term thuribulum. The Latin thuribulum is further formed from the root thus, meaning incense. Thus is an alteration of the Greek word III, which is derived from III micron I to the first I 1/2 to sacrifice. Roman Rite, the Roman Missal, as revised in 1969, allows the use of incense at any Mass, in the entrance procession. At the beginning of Mass to incense the cross and the altar. At the Gospel procession and proclamation. After the bread and the chalice have been placed upon the altar, to incense the offerings, the cross, and the altar, as well as the priest and the people. At the elevation of the host and the chalice after the consecration. The number of swings of the thurible to be used when incensing persons or objects is specified in the general instruction of the Roman Missal: 3 double swings, the Most Blessed Sacrament, a relic of the Holy Cross and images of the Lord exposed for public veneration, the offerings for the sacrifice of the Mass, the altar cross, the Book of the Gospels, the Paschal candle, the priest, and the people. 2 double swings, relics and images of the saints exposed for public veneration. A series of single swings, the altar. The priest may incense the offerings for Mass by tracing a cross over them with the thurible instead of using 3 swings of the thurible. The responsibilities of a thurifer include, holding the thurible open to enable the priest to put incense in it, after which he blesses it with the sign of the cross without using any formula of words. Carrying the thurible in procession. Presenting the thurible to the priest or deacon when they need to use it. Incensing the priest after the priest has incensed the offering at Mass. Another server, previously called a boat boy and now more commonly a boat bearer, may carry a boat or container of incense to add as the thurible burns low. These rules, except for the manner of incensing the offerings at Mass, applied also before 1969. Earlier editions of the Roman Missal prescribed that the offerings be incensed by forming over them with the thurible first 3 crosses and then 3 circles, the first 2 anti-clockwise and last clockwise, while also saying a prescribed prayer. They also direct that incensing of the altar be done with single swings at 29 designated points of an altar attached to the rear wall of the sanctuary, and at 22 points of a freestanding altar. Pre-1969 editions of the Roman Missal did not allow the use of incense at low Mass. In accordance with the conditions laid down in the document Summorum Pontificum of 2007, use of a 1962 edition as an extraordinary form of the Roman Rite is permitted. Other extraordinary forms such as that employed by the Congregation of Mary Immaculate Queen, who call the 1962 version mutilated and deformed, are not authorized. Ambrosian Rite. In the Ambrosian Rite the thurible has no top cover, and is swung clockwise before the censing of a person or object. Anglicanism. In the Anglican Communion, the use of incense is a fairly reliable guide to how high or how low a church is. Anglo Catholic churches may use generous quantities of incense. In recent years, some middle-of-the-road Anglican churches have taken to using incense a few times a year for special occasions. Traditionally, at High Mass, the following rule is observed when censing, which differs from the common Roman Rite: 3 sets of triple swings, when censing the Most Blessed Sacrament, 3 sets of double swings, when censing images, relics, and other sacramentals, also when censing the celebrant. 2 sets of double swings, when censing a deacon. 1 set of double swings, when censing a subdeacon. 3 sets of single swings, when censing the congregation. In Anglo Catholic churches, the thurible is carried in procession in front of the crucifer and acolytes. The celebrant then censes the altar on which the Eucharist is to be offered, in the following form. After venerating the altar, the priest receives the thurible from the server at the north end of the altar. The priest circles the altar, making small movements in the thurible, in an anti-clockwise direction until as he reaches the west side of the altar, facing east. The priest then makes 3 sets of triple swings towards east, then continues around the altar to his original position facing west. This same pattern is followed when censing the altar at the offertory, with the following prequel. The priest makes 6 swings over the gifts, making the sign of the cross. The priest then makes 3 circles, 2 counterclockwise and 1 clockwise, over and around the gifts. At the Gospel, the deacon censes following the introduction to the Gospel using 3 sets of double swings, 1 set south, 1 set north, and 1 set west. At the elevations of the Blessed Sacrament, during the prayer of consecration either the deacon, subdeacon, or other appropriate person, makes 3 sets of triple swings, as the parish bell and sanctuary bells are rung. Should the Regina Coeli or the Angelus be said or sung, then the celebrant or other appropriate person may cense the statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary in the following form. Regina Coeli, 3 sets of triple swings during the verse and then 3 sets of triple swings during the concluding prayer. Angelus, 1 set of triple swings during each Ave Maria, then 3 sets of triple swings during the prayer. Incense can be used at any celebration of the Eucharist throughout the year, but especially in the seasons of Christmas, Epiphany and Easter, Maundy Thursday Vigil, Palm Sunday, on the feasts of Pentecost, Trinity Sunday, Ascension, feasts of saints and martyrs, Corpus Christi, and at the dedication festival or patronal festival of a church. Orthodox and Eastern Catholic rites. The Eastern Orthodox Church and the Byzantine Rite Eastern Catholic Churches make frequent use of incense, not only at the Divine Liturgy, but also at Vespers, Matins and a number of other occasional services. During funeral services and memorial services, the censer is swung almost continuously. Incense is understood as symbolizing the sanctifying grace of the Holy Spirit and the prayers of the saints rising to heaven. Incense is offered by the priest or deacon during the services. In some traditions, the ecclesiarch and his assistant will perform the censing at specific moments of the service. The thurible used is often gold-plated. The thurible consists of a metal bowl into which the charcoal and incense are placed, and a lid, pierced by holes to allow the fragrance from the incense to escape. The censer will usually have 3 outer chains attached to the bowl, and a 4th inner chain attached to the lid. The 3 outer chains are gathered together and attached to a round conical plate attached to a ring. The inner chain passes through a hole in the conical plate and is attached to another ring to make it easier to lift the lid. In the Greek and some Russian practices 12 bells will be attached to the chains. Sometimes the bowl and lid of the thurible are decorated with crosses or icons in repousse, and may even be decorated with semi-precious stones. When not in use, the thurible is usually hung from a hook in the sanctuary. When censing, the priest or deacon holds the censer below the conical plate with only one hand, allowing it to swing freely. He will make the sign of the cross with the censer by making 2 vertical swings and a 3rd horizontal swing. When the temple is censed, the priest or deacon will move in a sunwise direction, moving to his right as he censes in order the holy table, sanctuary, iconostasis, walls of the temple, clergy and faithful. There are 2 types of censing, a greater censing, and a lesser censing. During some censings, especially the greater censing, the clergyman who is performing the censing will often carry a candle in his left hand. During Bright Week the priest and the deacon will carry special paschal candles at every censing, even the lesser censing. While carrying the paschal candles, the priest or deacon will greet the members of the congregation with the paschal greeting while censing them. Simple tapers are carried while censing during funerals and memorial services. During the Eastern Roman Empire the emperor used to be permitted to offer incense on the Feast of the Nativity, but was permitted to perform no other priestly function. If no priest is available, Incense may be offered by a reader or senior layman, but with a hand censer which has no chains on it, but rather a handle. The hand censer is also used in some monasteries even when a priest is present for certain censings which are done by a monastic other than a vested priest or deacon. During Holy Week it is customary in some places for even the priest and deacon to use the hand censer for all of the censings, as a sign of humility and mourning of the Passion of Christ. The faithful will often burn incense, using a hand censer, in the home during morning and evening prayers, and it is not unusual for the head of the household to bless the holy icons and all of the members of the household with a hand censer. Boat boy. The boat boy or boat bearer is a junior altar server position found in Catholic and Anglican churches. The role of a boat boy is to assist the thurifer, the senior altar server who carries the thurible. The boat bearer carries the boat, a small metal container, Latin navicula, which holds the supplies of incense. The boat has a small spoon inside which is used to transfer the grains of incense onto the red-hot charcoals in the thurible. Although at times the boat bearer transfers the incense himself, more usually he simply holds the boat open as the priest performs this task. References. External links: Holy Smoke, The Use of Incense in the Catholic Church. Dodd, Robert. Role of the Thurifer. St. Matthew's Cathedral. Dallas, Texas, Cathedral Church of St. Matthew. Retrieved September 23, 2013. Images of the thurible used during Mass at All Saints Church, Kings Lynn, about censing rubrics, Orthodox Church in America.